Hello and welcome to this edition of Wednesday Palaver. And today we're going to be looking at the ongoing voter registration exercise. In fact, what has been called the limited registration exercise. It's been on for about 7 days or more, and we've seen all the things that are happening in the registration exercise. And it's our pleasure today to look at all the aspects of the registration exercise. So more or less, this is a special Wednesday Palaver. And indeed, what we're going to do is what we do normally. We're going to have somebody to give us a presentation, and then we're going to come to the studio audience for questions, for comments, and so on. And then from there, we're going to go to the social media also for comments and questions, and then we invite our guests to round up. So welcome to Wednesday Palaver, and it is my greatest pleasure to welcome Kwesi Adarkwa, member of the Accra Collective of the Socialist Movement of Ghana, to lead us in these discussions. Sir, welcome to the microphone.
Okay. Good evening, fellow comrades. Good evening, listeners from all across the country, all across Africa, and those following us on social media, watching us on Pan-African TV. Good evening once again. This evening, my task here is to try and lead us in a discussion to understand what is happening in terms of the limited registration. The limited registration started on the 8th of May 2024, and we were told that it was going to last for 17 days. And as we are all aware, it has been a very eventful number of days. Something that all of us know should be a matter of course. It should be a run in the park, a run-of-the-mill process, which shouldn't bring any controversy, has resulted in very, very strange happenings. And as citizens, we must take note of some of these issues. First of all, we would like to draw attention to, number one, the violence that has happened. And we know that for some of us who have gone to some of the few centers to observe what is happening, I mean, it's not a war zone, but it's a very tense situation in most of the the registration centers. As it happens, the registration centers now happens to be the district offices. A very strange occurrence, but we'll come back to that later. Apart from the tension, you can see that all the equipment that we are supposed to be using, they are not performing at their optimal levels. It is causing a lot of delays, people are agitated, and a lot of time is being wasted of citizens. And then we also have the situation of whether people are being bashed, whether people are registering and they are not qualified to register. So all these things are happening because there are some underlying conditions. And I hope that I'll be able to expose some of the underlying conditions so that to help understand and appreciate what is happening. First of all, why do people want to vote? The right to vote is, I would say, a very sacred and inalienable right in any democracy or a republic, or in our case, a democratic republic. Because as simple as it looks, it is very, very, very serious, because throughout time, human beings have always struggle to have a say in who governs them or whether they themselves even get a chance to govern others. And the right to vote or the chance to participate in that process is something that people have fought for millennia. And it's only recently that it has become almost universal and has gained acceptance as the preferred mode for choosing leaders. There were times where people had to go to war to choose leaders. There were times where, for a long time in the history of mankind, a few elite could get together and then choose one of themselves to be the people to give laws, to enforce laws, to control our resources, and also even to control our future. But what we have now is an era where it may not be universal, it may not be the best, but it has been accepted as one of the ways of people choosing their leader. Now, when we consider the fact that the right to vote determines who rules us, it also gives you the chance, as the one who is going to vote, a direct chance to hold those who rule you accountable. That is also something that through human history has just become a matter of course. There were times when you question your leaders, they would cut off your head. But now, the first line of accountability is a right to vote. And even in Ghana, if we look at our system of governance, it is clear that when people vote for their leaders, they exact more accountability from them than many other people who are appointed. A case in point is the municipal and metropolitan chief executives as compared to the members of parliament. The municipal chief executives are appointed directly by a few group of people or even one person, in this case the president. So that person is directly accountable to the president, the person who appointed him. Then the MPs are elected through popular elections. What happens is that even though the constitution and even the mandates and the functions of the district chief executives is directly to undertake development, when people have problems in where they live, the first person they talk about is the MP. So we can see clearly that here the power of the right to vote is the first line or the first link in the chain of accountability in democratic governance. Now, the Constitution of Ghana has a very interesting part that I always like, and I like to read from this my small text that I prepared. I want to just refer to the preamble of the Constitution. It says that we the people of Ghana, in the exercise of our natural and inalienable right to establish a framework of governance which shall secure for ourselves and posterity the blessings of liberty, equality, opportunity, and prosperity, in a spirit of friendship and peace with all peoples of the world, and in solemn declaration and affirmation of our commitment to freedom, justice, probity, and accountability. So it goes to the point that I want to emphasize. The principle that all powers of government spring from the sovereign will of the people, the principle of universal adult suffrage, the rule of law, and it goes on and on and on and on. So this is the statement that was made to set in motion the promulgation of our independence, the sacred words that were spoken. And within those words, we are talking about the universal adult suffrage, your right to vote. So that right to vote is sacred to us as a people when we relate it to our constitution. And the right to vote should be guaranteed. And that same constitution guarantees that right to vote in Chapter 7, Article 42 of the Constitution. that gives every adult of voting age the right to vote, and also gives us the right to register to vote. So this right to vote, in its context, because he mentioned a word like sovereignty, all of us as individuals, we are sovereign beings, we are sovereign individuals. But we being sovereign individuals, we have decided to come together as a society. And whenever we are in a society, we give up a little bit or even more than necessary of our sovereignty. And it's that sovereignty that is collectively put together to become a nation state or a country. And that country exercises the powers of our sovereignty over all of us. So your power as a sovereign individual is what makes the nation. And it is that power that allows you to demand for your rights and insist on what should be done. And what is the rights and the powers of the state? You derive or you contribute to that. So you should also have the right to contribute to how the leaders of the nation who enact laws, implement policies, and enforce law, who they are and whether they are accountable to you or not. So we should take very seriously this opportunity to vote. At this point, I'll point out to the young people who are going to be the first time voters that this is your opportunity to take interest and be part of the exercise. And in spite of all the hoops and the holes and the obstacles put before you, try as much as possible to register to exercise your vote, which is your right. Now, when we look at the Constitution again, the Constitution sets up the Electoral Commission, and that Constitution says that the Electoral Commission in Article 45, the E part, says that the Electoral Commission must expand or bring programs to expand, give people the opportunity to register to vote. So the Electoral Commission itself, as a body, the purpose for which it was set up, one of it is to give people the chance to register to vote. They are of course also supposed to manage the elections and all the other functions that are open to them. But one of the key functions is for them to encourage, set up programs for people to register to vote. Now, this is where we come in. What is happening now? The question we ask ourselves is that if not for anything at all, the Electoral Commission must do things that will further the cause of giving the people the right to register to vote. But what do we have now? For the very first time in our history, maybe this is the second time, but this is the second time in succession where people are not going to go to their polling stations to go and register to vote. So the Electoral Commission, whose constitutional mandate is to promote people the access to the vote through registration, is now doing things which ostensibly is going to make it so difficult for people to register. For the very first time, the registration is being conducted in the district offices of the Electoral Commission. And if you know the geography of Ghana, you know that even in Accra, if you look at the smallest district, the location of that polling station, the office where people will register, may be far from where people stay. And this is compare it to those who are living in places where the district capital is further from where they live and where they are going to register. Why do we have this situation? It seems as if, as is the normal routine of the people who are part of the elite, whether they are the old elite or they are those who have been co-opted newly into the elite, the newly minted elite, their first order of business when they get into position of power and authority is to inflict pain and suffering on the people. Because apart from that, why would the Electoral Commission take such a decision that you have to travel all the way from wherever you live to go and exercise your constitutional duty and right to register to vote? This is so serious, and they justified it without, and what we have is a situation where people are actually suffering, and some people have even decided that they won't even bother. Now, what has been the consequence of this decision? The first consequence is the massing of people at one place, causing tension, delays, dropping in productivity, and all the things that we don't want this thing to bring. And then we look at the tension that is between the parties. This is so needless, and this is so unnecessary. Then we look at another thing. We are being told that this registration exercise, apart from being centered in one place, we are using a system which they are not stable. And as we speak, the system that was set up is not being used. We are now being told that all the systems have been taken offline and they are registering offline. Whatever the consequences in the future, we may not know now. Maybe a technology person can explain to us. But is there a likelihood that this may result in compromise of the registrar? Is there a likelihood of this thing happening? And when questions are asked, instead of giving assurance, you are seen as an enemy to the Electoral Commission, who we are told is independent, but the independence is not being used to further the cause of accountability, but to defend themselves from doing the right thing. The next thing that we need to find about this registration is the busing of people. Now, because of the nature of the registration, people now have to be bused from their places where they live to go and register. How will this situation help the electoral register to have credibility? When you can bus somebody from Accra to Asin to go and register, even though the person doesn't live there. Let's not forget, elections are competitive, and people may have ideas when you give the opportunity. What is the opportunity here? I may be a political party, I've done my numbers, I know that I need a certain number of votes to close a gap or win. I'll bus people there. And this is what is causing the fights, the violence. So there's no way of checking whether indeed the people who are registering in a particular place are the right people because of this situation. And then there's also this situation where the parties have to bear the cost of training people, putting people there to police this process. In fact, I have one difficulty with the electoral process in Ghana. We have been told that our electoral process is one of the most transparent. It's one thing that we always pride ourselves with. But I'll liken it to our electoral process being a situation, a scenario where instead of having a referee, you rather have a promoter who put two pugilists in a ring and go and sit down and watch them beat themselves to pulp so that we can declare that one is a winner. Instead of the Electoral Commission having the credibility and being strong enough to manage our elections, we are being told that you have to be vigilant. Even registration, you have to be vigilant. So you are vigilant to ensure that nobody cheats you. So what is the Electoral Commission doing to ensure that the thing is fair? This is one thing that I can't wrap my mind, and we've all seemed to accept the situation that it is normal that when you vote, You should stand there before somebody steals your vote, or somebody takes your vote away, or declares somebody who doesn't qualify to become. And we have even taken this all the way down to registering people to vote. Now, all these things are costs to the electoral people in the electoral chain. I mean, the political parties. So, most of the parties that may not have the financial wherewithal may not be able to put anybody there. So their interests may not be served. But the Electoral Commission is just sitting there, and as long as those who are there can justify and have their way, the Electoral Commission will accept it. So this is going to cause a huge cost center for the political parties. And where are the political parties going to get money from? In fact, one elephant in the room of Ghana's election is the funding. How do people get money to fund their election, and how is that accounted for? This is the only country where anybody at all can just get up and start spending money on elections, bribing people, doing all sort of things. You can spend 100 million and nobody will ask a question. But that's not what is done anywhere. When you raise all these questions, you are told that, well, elections, the democracy is a process, and that those we are trying to compare ourselves to have been at it for years and years and years. But I'm of the school that says that progress or history is not linear. It doesn't mean that if they took 100 years to become who they are, we can also follow that same path that we are going, and in 10 years, 20, 50 years, we are going to change and become better. I believe that you must take the arc of victory and bend it. The fact that some people have done it doesn't mean that over time, automatically, we will become like that. We need to have systems in place that will check the direction that we are going, especially with our election, because we already agreed that election is a means of exercising political power, is a means for you and I to participate in elections and ensure that our sovereignty has meaning in a democracy. So if we are going to go the same way, business as usual, then we are going to have a problem with where we are going. It's not going to change because time will change it. We have to be purposeful to change where we are going. It looks like there's a lot of despondency in the way we run our election. So people are saying, well, things will become like that, so what do we do? Well, I mean, especially the young people that I'm trying to talk to this evening, that you are the future, this is your country, you have to register to vote. But what can we do to change the direction where we are going? The direction that we are going, as we all know, is not a good direction. So if you are a young person, if you care about this society that you live in, one of the first things that you should do, I'm asking you to, is to find your voice. Study and find your voice. Find out what you can do to say to change the society, especially during this period where we are having the chance to register. Talk to your friends, let them register. Also, join a group. Don't be alone. You can't fight this system alone. You have to be part of a team. You have to be part of a group. And being a member of the SMG, I encourage you to join SMG wherever you are. Because without being part of a group, you alone, you cannot do it. I can't say one person's hands cannot cover the eyes of God. So you have to be part of a group of people in this direction. Then agitate for change. If you join or you find your voice, don't sit quiet. Agitate for change. Sometimes it's scary. Sometimes it's not easy. But we must challenge where we are going, where registering to vote is a struggle. It brings fight. Shouldn't be like that. We shouldn't have a society where that becomes normalized. We should challenge it at every level where you are. Call it out for what it is and say that, no, this is wrong. We can't be like this. We can't go this way. Then we need to also be at the decision-making table. When they are taking this, find a way whether you are part of a group, find a way to be part of the decision making, so that your voice that you found, the agitation that you are agitating, will be reflected in the decisions that were made. I am sure that if a lot of pressure was brought to bear on the Electoral Commission when they were taking this nearly suicidal decision, maybe it would have dissuaded them. But of course, we have allowed them to have their way, because ultimately they don't work for themselves, they work for us. They say the welfare of the people is the supreme law. So if we get up and say, let us fight for our welfare, then the people who are obliged to act by the constitutional mandate will have to listen to us. So I'll end here, and we'll take the discussion from here. Thank you very much.
Well, undoubtedly, that was a brilliant presentation by Comrade Adarkwa. And even before we bring the discussions to an end, I'd like to salute him for his research and really brilliant presentation, excellent presentation. It's now time to listen to our studio audience, and we don't have too much time. So those of you in the studio who have comments to make or questions to ask, please show by hand. Questions to ask and comments to make. And I see one hand, another one, and then I see another one there. I see another one there. So I see another one there. So 4. And this is how we do it. We start from Showboy, and then we come to Comrade Najib, and then the big boss himself, Comrade Blaise Tulo, and then Comrade Kambali, in that order.
Good evening, studio audience and viewers up there. Well, we'll have to thank our comrade for this brilliant submission. We've been going around the various centers, and some of the centers are very, very cool, while others are very, very chaotic. But my worry right now is, going through the news, we realize that already the EC is churning out a lot of information on number of voters that have voted. It's come to the realization that there has been serious opposition to the figures they are churning out. And this brings to reminiscence the last election that was held, the time they were delivering the results, that they have to call the result of about 4 times before finally it got settled. People are very, very apprehensive, and they are seeing things in the very wrong side. Organizations like Imani, I have made mention of the fact that some people like SAL, those people are still being cut off the system. Some areas, some young girls are being refused to vote because of political parties. So we'll call on the EC, if possible, if as a matter of agency, expand the system so that more actions will be taken, so that a lot of people can be registered. Otherwise, it's not going to be very good for the country in the coming years. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Comrade Adarkwa. I have a very simple question, which is that, do you think that as an ordinary Ghanaian we should still have any confidence in the Electoral Commission? Because the Electoral Commission has demonstrated time and again that it is not to be trusted, especially under the current commission. Right from the coming into office, which we know another person was taken out because of some breaches that they said procurement breaches was what took her out. Today we have an Electoral Commission who, along with her team, has disenfranchised the whole constituency of people, and yet they ask us to trust them. They threw out figures in the 2020 election, they come, they take it down, they throw more figures out, take it down about 5-6 times, until finally they massage the figures to tally. Fast forward, we have a vice commissioner who has been very biased from the very day he took office as a commissioner, saying that the opposition National Democratic Congress is a threat to the democracy of this country. Meanwhile, his actions and the actions of the commission tell us they are rather a threat to the Republican, our constitution, our democracy as it stands. Finally, the thing I like to say, which has eroded confidence in them totally, is the current happenings, the current registration that is taking place, where in the first 2 days they throw out figures that are challenged by the opposition parties, and then they take it down as they have always done. And it was clear that they tried to slot in about 6,020 votes. The second day they threw out figures again that were challenged and they took it down. So I don't know. What do you think? That should we continue to trust this electoral commission? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, comrade, for that submission. Few things have come to my notice in this process of limited registration. One is that I have come across discussions around some missing devices at the Electoral Commission. And then for me, this is very shocking. And the whole deliberations around how those equipments got missing at the Electoral Commission. So that's one. Number two was also the MP that attempted to buy lunch for the officials of the Electoral Commission during the registration process, and subsequently wrote a letter apologizing for attempting to buy lunch for the EC officials. That also struck me. We didn't know that our Electoral Commission has no capacity to buy lunch for the people that are supposed to lead this very important exercise. I would like to call on Ghanaians that please, if we can contribute to buy lunch for our EC officials, it will be very, very important. The third thing is that the communications director of the New Patriotic Party was challenged, for registering in a certain constituency. For me, that was very, very bold by the people. I think that is a new resurgence of young people who are demanding accountability for elections. It has happened in Senegal. South Africa are going for elections on the 29th. The situation is tense. The young people are demanding accountability. And I can see that same energy happening in Ghana. And I hope that what happened in 2020 will not replicate itself. Thank you very much.
Ghana has held many elections, and I also hope that we don't hope that we will do the right thing, that we have so many experiences in running elections that some of the challenges in the electoral process becomes or appears to be intentional. But Ghana's election also has to be put in the context of the African continent. I will use the Congo as an example. When I'm seeing the challenges here, and it will be good for all of us who love the African continent to start comparing what's happening in Togo, DRC, Senegal, that it seems to be the same playbook. It seems to be that in the Electoral Commission is where they cook the result. Every election anywhere else across the continent, that's usually where the issue happens. There are issues with the machines. We had issues with the machines in the DRC. Before elections, some machines were burned. There was a fire in the space where they kept the equipment. But also during the election, we had what we call vote on demand, where actually people had electoral kits in their homes with videos actually showing that this is happening. And after that, nothing happened, right? There has not been any accountability for those who rigged the election, where the government also agreed to. Same thing also in Ghana. There hasn't been accountability for the past election, and even with this issue. How we as Africans, as we go to elections, that we don't look at these elections as national elections, and we look at them as provincial elections across the continent. that as Ghana goes to election, Togo goes to election, or using electoral processes to have leaders elected, that we are not so focused nationally. Because when we do that, we'll start noticing that we are all buying equipment from the same companies, outside companies. We are using same processes, and that will start limiting some of the challenges we have all across the continent. So that's my comment for today.
Well, it's now time to invite Comrade Abdul Haq to give us messages from our social media platforms. Comrade Abdul Haq.
Okay. You didn't clap for me today. Yeah, so we have a lot of concerns and messages coming in also today. From Pedro Wa Maldina Cruz. I hope I got that name correct. Watching you live and clear inside Indianapolis. Kumasi Tanosu. Kesvin Junction is the main location. Keep up the good work. Thank you for that message. You are in Kumasi Tanosu, but it is, yeah, Indianapolis. Okay, that's good. This simply says hello, and I'm enjoying the program from Kwabenya. Well, keep your dial on Pan-African TV. Maybe you can send in your questions and also contributions on the limited voter registration exercise. Okay, this simply says bad news and chaos all about our election, and that's from Nuruddin in Tamale. Okay, so this is coming from Abdul. He says the crisis in Ghana is not unique to Ghana alone, even in the election, because similar things are happening across the African continent, and it's time for us to begin to agitate against all of these inequalities in our region and across the continent. Today is happening in Ghana again, just like it has happened before. It's time for the youth to rise up and stop all this nonsense that electoral commissions are putting forward and trying to manipulate us. And I just have one question though. Is the Pegasus technology still in play and in Ghana during this election? Is the Pegasus software still in play in Ghana during this election? And that's coming from Abdul Hassan. Also coming from Salaudin in Lagos, Nigeria, says, it's the same condition here in Nigeria, maybe even worse. And that's from Salaudin in Lagos. Okay, this is also highlighting the issue around the flooding that happened during these electoral processes. And this is coming from Kwesi Opon in Kumasi. Kwesi Opon in Kumasi says, the flooding that happened in Accra is not a small one. How has it affected these electoral processes? And what is coming into our mind as we go into these elections and also acquire these voter registration cards? And that's from Kumasi. Oh, this simply says, hello, thank you for the program, Mr. Kwesi Pratt. Add your name later on so that I mention it to him, okay? It will be interesting to know where you are also sending the message from. Okay, this is coming from Headmistress. It says, I'm enjoying the program and thank you for showing your face, Comrade Blaze Tulu. I mean, the messages are coming, but I'm running out of time, so I'll leave it here and let's... Okay. 3 more minutes. So that you clap for me. Okay, so this is coming in also from Mr. Stevens Kisi Labi. He says, I'm enjoying the show from the TUC office in Accra. Okay. Thank you for joining. I think you've been on the show also before. Thank you for the message. It's good to know that you are monitoring and watching us from home. This is also coming from Hamza He says, well on point, Mr. Kwesi Adarkwa. Very educative. Thank you. Kudos. That's from Hamza. This is also coming from Hikma in Adenta. This is probably the most educative program I've watched today. Thank you so much, Pan African TV. Keep up the good work. That's Hikma from Adenta. Here is also coming from Kudus in Bolga. He says, we are suffering here in Bolgatanga to get our voter to register for this card. What can we do to share our news to you so we can also air it, also you can air it on Pan-African TV? I think you can just send us some of those contents via our email addresses, info@panafricantv.com, or you can reach out to us on social media, share the videos, they will be reviewed by our news team, and then get a contact back with you for how to proceed. This is also coming from Nimatu, and she says, nice program. Thank you, Nimatu. Okay, so thank you so much, and thank you for watching and keeping your dial on Pan African TV.
It is obvious that Comrade Abdul Haq wants applause. Shall we give him another one? Well, at this stage, we'd like to call on Comrade Kwesi Adarkwa to round up. And he has 5 minutes to round up. So, Comrade, the microphone is yours.
Yes, so I registered some questions that I'll attempt to address. So the first one is whether there's confidence in the Electoral Commission. I'll combine the one to do with technology, and then the missing devices, and then the direct question on confidence. Clearly, we can see that this Electoral Commission is really challenged. I mean, the crisis of confidence that it has suffered requires that people set up. I mean, if you have any stake in this coming election, you should be very vigilant, as they've told us. They are no longer, I'll say, a fair referee. I mean, but we can't change this referee. We are stuck with them. The confidence is very low from my perspective. I will even go to the point of even the recently appointed member, who it has clearly been shown has a political leaning, and that person has been appointed. And that's another discussion altogether. The way the institutions of this country have been treated. I mean, you are scared to consider what may happen in the future. So the confidence is very, very, very low, and it behoves on people to see what they can do to bring their feet to fire, not let up, and see how we'll force them to do the right thing, because their functions are constitutionally mandated. It's not, they didn't get up to do what they are doing. They are doing that because the Constitution mandates them to do what they are doing. Then the missing devices also comes with the confidence. I mean, we are being told that these devices are kept under lock and key with cameras all over, but they've gotten missing. As at now, we don't even know exactly what happened, because the institution that is supposed to tell us what happened is singing different tunes every day. And then Comrade Kambali spoke about the technology. Most of the things that we spoke about here is about the process. In fact, for me, I believe that sometimes the process even determines the kind of technology that you use, and whether that technology can even have an effect. For instance, no matter how well the technology is, if whether it is manufactured locally, it is well calibrated, and nobody's doing anything funny, But if you have electoral commission that says that I'll register only in district office, I mean, if you have electoral commission that says that I will not conduct election in this area, no matter how well technology is, you can have a free election. So I will end by saying that, well, the institutions of state must work for us, and it is our responsibility to stand up to them. They don't work for themselves. We must stand up to them to truly work for us, and to do what the Constitution says, and especially in relation to Article 45E, they must, by Constitution, make it easier for people to register. They should never put impediments in the way of people to register. There will be another registration exercise in later part of this year. We hope by then we would have all stood up to them and forced them to do what the Constitution mandates them to do. Thank you very much.
Well, the last person to hold the microphone before we draw the curtains down, and I think that should give me at least the privilege of saying a few things. Not many, just one or two. And the first one relates to the question as to whether we have confidence in the Electoral Commission or not. And I dare say that the confidence level in the Electoral Commission is very, very low. And there are good reasons for that. This election, this voter registration exercise, mathematics has very complicated parts. It involves addition, it involves subtraction, it involves multiplication, it involves division, and so on. But all that this exercise requires is addition. And addition is something which is taught at the day nursery level. And yet, our Electoral Commission is struggling with addition. You cannot add. That's the additional wrong. Additional wrong. So if you have an Electoral Commission which is not being asked to multiply, it is not being asked to divide, it is not some fantastic algebraic equation, just add, that one too they cannot do. How do we have confidence in an Electoral Commission like this? An Electoral Commission which includes professors and it cannot add. That's a huge problem. But you see, if it were just about this voter registration exercise, maybe we can forgive them. The last election, the first addition they did, it was more than 100%. They came back and said, we are very sorry, it's more than 100%. They did another addition. Oh, addition be this one. They did a third one. So they announced the election result 3 or 4 times. Who can have confidence in an Electoral Commission like this? That's a huge problem. Then there's the other issue. Electoral Commission, they are the supervisors, so they are the referees in the game. At least 2 of the referees are wearing jerseys. That's a huge problem. There is this professor who was brought from Broad Hartford region and so. And I've seen videos of him swearing that he would never allow NDC to win power and that NDC is a useless party. Cadbury, member of the New Patriotic Party, is a member of the commission. How can we trust the commission like this? Then there's the other guy who is also a commissioner who says that, look, he has looked around some of the parties. They are a threat to democracy. So if you have a commissioner who actually believes that a party is a threat to democracy, how can he be fair in the elections and so on? My brother Kwesi Adarkwa says we can't do anything about it. Then forget the elections. We must be able to do something about it. And I am appalled by the weakness of some of the political parties in this game. In the face of this glaring evidence, nothing is happening. What do? They write love letters to the Council of State and then the matter is over. We must insist that people on the Electoral Commission, whose utterances, whose actions and whose affiliations take away from the credibility of the Commission, must leave before December 7th, 2024. And we should not compromise on this matter. Because we don't want what has happened in other countries to happen here. Last Sunday, there were election results declared in Chad. Come and see the gunfire. I don't want that to happen here. And the only way to prevent that is to insist on measures to enhance the credibility of the Electoral Commission. And there can be no compromise on this one. You understand? So I think we can do something about it. There's still 7 months to go. And within those 7 months, we can insist on the right things being done. The other thing we can insist on is I've seen some very shocking videos. People are using cutlasses and machetes to cut themselves. There's gunfire and the policemen are standing like this. The policemen are standing like this. They are not moving. Why? Are they afraid?
Yes.
Of the tax? And if you have policemen who are afraid of the tax, why are they there? Why are we putting uniforms on them? Why are we giving them guns and so on? So the police as an institution must begin to assert itself the same way it did in Asin North and the same way it did in Ejusu in order to end this silly violence. Registration, limited registration, is like come and see gunfire. So what will happen when the real elections arrive? I saw a video. It was like some movie, some cowboy movie or some war film. NDC people on one side, NPP people on one side, pintain. They were shooting at each other. What rubbish is that? Should we allow this in Ghana? So the security services must be up to the tax. And then I've seen videos of hoodlums, thugs, in security uniforms, causing mayhem. How did they come by the security uniforms? Now when the security services see people wearing uniforms that look like theirs on election day, what do? When they see them wearing those uniforms to registration centers, what do? Please, I know as a fact that we have become very, very close to a banana republic, but we can reverse. Let us reverse now. On behalf of all of us, producers of the program, our very, very, very brilliant presenter Kwesi Adarkwa, and he's very brilliant. I've really enjoyed every bit of what he did today. Makiza Latifa, the #1 producer of the show, and everybody, people like you who came into the studio, those who are watching us on YouTube and Facebook and all of the other pages and so on, one big great salute. Because without you, this program will not become what it has become. Because you watch us, because you send text messages, and because you do all the things that you do, Wednesday Palaver is growing bigger and bigger and bigger. Join us again next week, and even before then, watch all the programs on Pan-African television until we meet again next Wednesday. Bye-bye.